Hello everybody and welcome back to Your Mongoose Hobby Time. Today we have a new special deck, one that I built just recently in fact. It's a Golgari Golem artifact deck. So, the commanders, Keskit the Flesh Sculptor. He's a legendary human artificer. He has partner, and he taps, you sacrifice 3 other artifacts and or creatures. You look at the top 3 cards of your library. You put 2 of them into your hand and the other 2 into the graveyard. The partner is Ich-Tekik, Salvage Splicer. So when he enters the battlefield, you create a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token. And then whenever an artifact is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you put a 1/1 counter on Ich-Tekik and a 1/1 counter on each golem you control. I love it. I think it's quite fun. I think it's quite lovely. Let's get into the deck itself. So what is the main theme? Well, the main theme is I sacrifice my stuff, I get the benefit, my opponent does not. So like to go into the pros and cons. The pros are I'm sacrificing a lot of stuff. I've got a lot of benefits for sacrificing. I have a lot of dice triggers. My creatures are pretty cheap, and they tend to want to be sacrificed. Like, sacrificing them grants me a decent amount of buffs, as well as I wouldn't really be too short on card draw, and I'm not too short on big bodies that just keep getting bigger with every sacrifice. The cons, I do not have a large board state. My board state will be very sweet, very clean, very simple. To close out a game, I want to make sure that most people are dead before me, or that I can kill somebody and then keep steamrolling. It doesn't happen often, and I tend to be quite a large threat if I ramp up too quickly. Now, onto the deck itself. First up we have death triggers, and those that benefit. So, first off, we've got a Solemn Simulacrum. When it enters the battlefield, you search your library for a basic land card, you put it onto the battlefield tapped, then you shuffle. When it dies, you may draw a card. Secondly, we have Ichor Wellspring. When it enters the battlefield or is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. Tormod's Crypt Keeper. It's got Vigilance, it's a 3/2, you tap it, you sacrifice it, it exiles all cards from target player's graveyard. Bottle Golems. When it dies, you gain life equal to its power, so it's a 3/3, but it can get pretty big with Ich-Tekik, because, whenever an artifact dies, you put a 1/1 counter on all golems. Burnished Heart. You sacrifice Burnished Heart, you search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, you put them onto the battlefield tapped, then you shuffle. Scrap Trawler. Whenever Scrap Trawler or another artifact is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you return to your hand target artifact in your graveyard with lesser mana value. We have Marionette Master. It's Fabricate 3, so when it enters the battlefield, you put 3 1/1 counters on it, or create 3 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature tokens. I'm not picking the servo, I'm going for the counters. And whenever an artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, target opponent loses life equal to Marionette Master. We have Gingerbrute. It's got haste. It's you pay 1, can't be blocked, except by creatures with haste, and you pay 2, you tap it, you sacrifice Gingerbrute, you gain 3 life. We also have Agent of the Iron Throne. Commanders you own have, whenever an artifact is put into the graveyard or a creature is put into the graveyard that I control from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. We have Sly Requisitioner. Whenever a non-token artifact is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact. It also has Improvise, so my artifacts can help me cast this spell. Each artifact I tap gives me 1 generic mana, or pays for 1 generic mana. Moldavine Reclamation. Whenever a creature you control dies, you gain a life and you draw a card. As well as Mycosynth Wellspring. When it enters the battlefield, we have 2 more. So Mycosynth Wellspring. When it enters the battlefield or is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle your life. Or put it into your hand, not the battlefield, sorry. put that card into your hand, and then shuffle your library. We have Workshop Assistant, so when a Workshop Assistant dies, return another target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. And that is all. Next up, we have Tutors for Golems. There's just one. Moonsilver Key. You sacrifice Moonsilver Key for one, you search your library for an artifact card with a mana ability or a basic land, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. It needs to be replaced someday. It's definitely gonna be. Of course, next up we've got Get Up, you stupid robot. You don't have nerves. So, with that in mind, we've got some recursion, because I want to be getting back my artifacts. So we have Emergency World, return target artifact or creature card from your graveyard to your hand, create a 1/1 colorless soldier creature token. We have Soul Salvage, return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Urborg's Repossession, it's kicker 2, so 1 and a green. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, you gain 2 life. If this spell was kicked, return another target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. We have Blood Beckoning. It's 1 black, but you kick it for 3, and you can return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And if this spell was kicked, return 2 creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Pretty good, pretty good. Unnatural Restoration, return target permanent from your graveyard to your hand and proliferate. And last but not least, Nature's Spiral, target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. So we're getting a lot of our permanents back after sacrificing them, which I think is pretty damn sweet. Because I want to be constantly recycling what I have. If I can recycle it, then that's alright with me. Next up, we have the Mana Base. Because mountains, plains, and islands are for suckers. So, not to beat around the bush, we've got 12 forests, 11 swamps. We don't need to worry about those. Those are fine. We've got 23 mana in total for basic lands. That's pretty A-okay. But for the fun shit, we have a Haunted Mire. It's a swamp forest. It enters the battlefield tapped. A command tower. It adds 1 mana color of your commander color's identity. We have the Mycosynth Garden. It's you tap it, you get a generic, colorless I should say. You pay 1, you add 1 mana color of any color. Or you pay X, and then the Mycosynth Garden becomes the Mycosynth Garden becomes a copy of target non-artifact you control with mana value X. I like copying tokens. That's alright with me. Rogue's Passage. Target creature can't be blocked this turn if you pay 4 to tap it. Myriad Landscape. Enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it for a generic, or you can pay 2, and you sacrifice Myriad Landscape. You search your library for up to 2 basic lands that share a land type. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Golgari Guildgate enters tapped. It taps for either a black or a green. And Jungle Hollow enters the battlefield tapped, and you gain 1 life. Now those are pretty average. We know about those. Those are lands. Everyone knows about the lands. The lands are fine, but I think it's time we got to the chaff. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's the chaff. So, first up we've got Golden Guardian. It's a 4/4 with Defender. You pay 2. And Golden Guardian fights another target creature you control. And when it dies, return it to the battlefield transformed. Its transformed form is what we're looking for. Its transformed form is you add 2 mana of any one color to your mana pool, or you pay 4 and you create a 4/4 colorless golem artifact creature token. Oh, that's so nice. It's so nice. I love creating tokens, man. It's just the fucking best. Next up, we've got Cradle Clearcutter. So it's 6 mana, or you can prototype it, so you may cast this spell with its different mana cost. It changes its size, but it keeps the abilities and types. So if I pay the 3 instead of the 6, it is a 1/3, and it has add green amount equal to... So add green equal to the amount of power that Cradle Clearcutter has. I cannot speak sometimes, I swear to God. But if I only pay the 6, it becomes a 3/6, and you can do the same thing. I'm probably just going to do the 3, because having that 3 cost 1 mana that keeps evolving is quite lovely. Next up we have Meteor Golem. Everyone knows about this one. It's a 7 cost 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target non-land permanent and opponent controls. I hate it, but it is also pretty damn good, so I can't really deny it. We've got Golem Artisan. It's a 5 cost for a 3/3. I don't know why I'm now choosing saying the cost and what it does, but fuck it. It has pay 2. Target artifact creature gets +1/+1 till the end of turn. Target artifact creature gains your choice of flying, trample, or haste until the end of turn. So those are the 2 options you have. You either give it a +1/+1 counter, or +1/+1 I should say, or you give it flying, trample, or haste. Pretty damn swifty. We've got Steel Overseer. You tap it, you put a 1/1 counter on each artifact creature you control. That's quite lovely. Precursor Golem. So when it enters the battlefield, you create 2 3/3 Golem artifact creature tokens. They are colorless. And whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell that targets only 1 Golem, that player copies that spell for each other Golem that spell could target. Each copy targets a different one of those Golems. It's a bit of a catch-22. So if I return all my Golems to my hand, I can, but I also have to deal with the fact that someone could just say, no, your Golems die. It's not great. Next we've got Armix, Filigree Thrasher. So when it attacks, you may discard a card. When you do, target creature defending player controls gets -X/-X till the end of turn, where X is the number of artifacts you control plus the number of artifact cards in your graveyard. For another fun card, we've got Brass Herald. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. I'm going to choose Golems. So, when Brass Herald enters the battlefield, reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put all Golem creature cards revealed this way into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Creatures of the chosen type get +1/+1. So basically, I just get to I am cycling to get more Golems and stuff. It's quite nice. We've got Shimmermere. You may cast artifact spells as though they had flash. Howling Golem. When it attacks or blocks, each player draws a card. Relic Golem. It can't attack or block unless an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. You pay 2, target player mills 2 cards. Geode Golem. When it deals combat damage to a player, you may cast your commander from the command zone without paying its mana cost. Campus Guide. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, then shuffle and put that card on top. Clay Revenant enters the battlefield tapped. You may pay 3. You return it from your graveyard to your hand. And Hengewalker. If at least 3 mana of the same color was spent on this spell, it enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. And last but not least, for the chaff, Maelstrom Colossus. It has Cascade, and it is a 7/7. Oh, that's a lot. That is a lot right there. And we're not even finished. Not close to being finished. We have a few more to go, lads. So, we've got Keskit. I have come to bargain. This is to make all my shit cheaper. If it's a Golem, I want it to be cheaper. So we're running a Herald's Horn. It enters the battlefield. Choose creature type. Golem. Creature spells you cast of the chosen type cost 1 less to cast. So Golems cost 1 less. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature card of the chosen type, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. We're also running Joyra's Familiar, so it's a flying bird with historic spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and it's also an artifact, so that's pretty special. As well as Foundry Inspector. Artifact spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So, in theory, at some point, our artifact spells should cost about 3 less. They probably won't, but it's good to dream. Of course, we have also got flesh puppets and their boons. More specifically, Vital Splicer, when it enters the battlefield, create a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token, and you can pay 1 and regenerate target golem I control. As well as Maul Splicer. It enters the battlefield, you put 2 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature tokens onto the battlefield, and my golems have trample. Ah, so space. So space! You know what I think? I think it's time for some murder and a dash of card draw. So this is all my kill off spells, my just targeted destruction, and a bit of card draw as well, because you know we always need some of that. We're running murder, so destroy target creature. Poison the cup, you foretell it for 2, and you destroy target creature. If this spell was foretold, scry 2. So you foretell for 2, and then its secondary foretell cost is 2, which is just 1 and a black. Costly Plunder. An additional cost to cast Costly Plunder is you sacrifice an artifact or a creature, and you draw 2 cards. Golgari Charm. All creatures get -1/-1 till the end of turn, or destroy target enchantment, or regenerate each creature you control. Each creature you control. And I can only choose 1. Pretty special. We have Blood Pact. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. Deadly Dispute. As an additional cost to the spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature, and you draw 2 cards and create a treasure token. And Crushing Disappointment. Each player loses 2 life and draws 2 cards. With that, I want to slow down my opponents, and to do that, we're going to have Crippling Fear, which is choose a creature type. Creatures that aren't of that type get -3/-3 till the end of turn. Casualties of War. You choose 1 or more. You destroy target artifact, destroy target creature, destroy target enchantment, destroy target land, and destroy target planeswalker. And finally, in Garruk's Wake, destroy all creatures you don't control and all planeswalkers you do not control. Oh my, how special is that? But we're still not done! Because I have a few sacrifice outlets that aren't Keskit. That aren't Keskit. So we have a Phyrexian Altar, sacrifice a creature, add 1 mana of any color, as well as Throne of Geth. Tap, sacrifice an artifact, and proliferate. But we're still not done, like I just said, because it gets better. Because we finally got the mana ramp. So we've got Cultivate. You search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal them. Put 1 onto the battlefield and 1 onto your library. We've got Death Sprout. Destroy target creature. Search your library for a basic land. Put it onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle. Open the Gates. Search your library for a basic land or gate. Reveal it. Put it into your hand. Then shuffle. Evolving Wilds. Search your library for a basic land. Put it onto the battlefield. Then shuffle. Migration Path. Search your library for up to 2 basic lands. Oh, so spicy. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Natural Connection. Search your library for a basic land. Put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Vastwood Surge. You can kick it for 4, and you search your library for up to 2 basic lands. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. If this spell was kicked, you then put 2 1/1 counters on each creature you control. Yeah, we're going to be getting some big golem, lads. We've got Reclaim the Waste, which kicks for 3. So you search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. If it was kicked, you search your library for 2 basic land cards instead of 1. Terramorphic Expanse. Sacrifice Terramorphic Expanse. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Circuitous Route. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards and or gate cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Now, ladies and gentlemen, do you think we're done? Because we're not done. We've got Golgari's Signet. You pay 1, you tap it, you add you add both black and green to your mana pool. Everflowing Chalice. It's got multi-kicker 2, so it costs 0, but you kick it for 2. And Everflowing Chalice enters the battlefield with a charge counter on it for each time it was kicked, so you may do it any number of times you cast it. Monolith. You add 1 mana of any color. Golgari Locket. You add either a black or a green, or you pay 4 Golgari, which is either black or green. You sacrifice Golgari Locket, you draw 2 cards. Arcane Signet, you add 1 mana of any color in your commander's identity. Mind Stone, you pay 1, you sacrifice it, you draw a card. And finally, the last card in the deck, Soul Ring. You tap it, you get 2 colorless mana. Holy fuck! That was a lot of cards, wasn't it? That was 100. God damn. So what is the plan with this deck? Well, like I said, I want to punish my opponents for allowing me life. I want to keep on the down low and swing out suddenly and quickly, while also making sure to outvalue my lack of board state. Now, it's not as easy as it looks, but it's damn well fun. I built the deck while I was in a bit of a slump, and I didn't know what I was doing anymore, and so this is what I came up with. This is Ich-Tekik, Salvage Splicer, and Keskit the Flesh Sculptor. Or as I like to call it, they're sacrificing him. And they're going to sacrifice me too! Oh my god! Just a classic, really garbage Trolls homage right there. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Have a great one. Goodbye!